Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today I'm finally tackling a subject that I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while now, but I've been struggling with how I wanted to break it down and actually discuss it. So I think I've finally come to something that I'm happy with, and it's just going to have to do because I've really been wanting to do it, and as I was messing with my shamans over the weekend, it gave me the inspiration and the ideas of just how to bring this to you guys. So here it is. Let's talk about it. Sprint runs suck. Why you should go with happiness over rarity. That's basically the gist of this, but there's a couple things that need to be established before we really dive into what sprint runs do to the community, why I don't think they're good, and let's start off with exactly what a sprint run is, because there's a lot of different things that some people think as sprint runs that aren't. Let's break those down first. So a sprint run. First of all, a sprint run is not just a Spyderco thing. I'm not picking on Spyderco here. I have an issue with any company that is of good size, has the resources, and has great models, but they decide to go a route of making them limited just for collectible purposes. And that also means that they make them once and they never make them again. A prime example is actually this guy right here, or at least this blade. This PM2 blade here I got from DLT Trading. It was a run they did with M390, and they had some red G10. Now, that's not a sprint run. That's a run, an exclusive run. That's an exclusive. So DLT did this, and once you have an exclusive, through most companies, especially Spyderco, you have the right to bring that back. So that doesn't mean it's gone forever. DLT could bring it back. And they also, to DLT's defense, they made a lot of these. I mean, they had a pretty good amount. Now, yes, they sold out, but it's an iconic knife. Everybody wanted it. But they didn't just make 100 or 200 of them. They didn't make a limited sprint run. They made a good size, and they tried giving the people what they wanted. And keep in mind, when any retailer, whether it be Blade HQ or DLT or Knife Center or White Mountain Knives, when any of them do that, they have to buy a certain quantity, and that adds up. And every retailer only has so much funds, so they kind of have to do the numbers and the math and figure out, okay, what makes sense financially? How many can we buy without risking too much of a loss? And that's not easy. That is easier said than done, for sure. That takes a lot more knowledge, insight, data, and at the end of the day, you're still kind of taking a risk because you don't know how well it's going to be received by the community. Sometimes you know it's just going to sell, but at the end of the day, it's not a small run. Different from a sprint run. A sprint run is a company making a specific version of a knife. They make it once, they make small quantities of it, and then it's done. They never make it again. That is a sprint run. That's stupid. They suck. Now, and again, I'm not just picking on Spyderco. Another thing like this that comes to mind is Kaiser's Friday Club. You guys know I love Kaiser. One of my favorite brands. I think that Friday Club is stupid because they make amazing knives, but they just make a small number of them, and they tend to sell out very quick. So my point is that's not a good thing. Now, we're going to get to that, but first I wanted to establish what the sprint runs are. So we've done that. Now let's go into another thing that's very important and needs to be understood. All these knives you see here, these are not cheap knives. This is like a $240, $260 knife new. Before I, did my special thing to it, 200 or 181, I don't remember, but you're all talking hundreds of dollars with these knives. So, where am I going with this? Okay, wow, huge brain fart. Okay, I've already recorded this like 3 times, so I'm not going back. Knives or knife collections are not an investment. I started talking to money, and that's why I was leading into this. Knives are never an investment. Knife collecting isn't going to make you any money. At best, if you're lucky, you may make your money back if you ever decide to resell it. Or maybe you'll get super lucky and the knife that you want to sell is actually highly coveted and you make an extra 50 bucks. That's going to be so few and far between, we're not even going to really factor that in. Knife collections don't make you money. Folding knives are not an investment. So that has to be understood and separated from the fact that knives are just not for that. They're not meant to grow in value. They're meant to be carried, used, and enjoyed. And collected. There's nothing wrong with collecting knives and having so many of them. You just don't use all of them all the time. So they're, you know, I'm a prime example. You guys, I have a channel. I review knives on a regular basis. I have reviewed hundreds of knives on this channel, and I have a decent amount of knives in my collection. I've actually really been thinning the herd lately to the ones that just truly make me happy. But at one point, I had well over 100 knives. Obviously, wasn't using a lot of them, but it wasn't because I was collecting them for, you know, to cash in on someday. I just had too many. And that's okay. That is okay. But it's a really bad idea and a wrong thought to think that, oh, I'll just keep all these and you know, money in the bank. No, not so true. Not so true. And that thoughts like that drive sprint runs up. It drives the value of sprint runs up, and we don't want that. Now, the real reason why sprint runs suck, they drive demand, but don't deliver on the demand because of such limited quantities. Let's say that one more time. They drive demand up, but then they don't deliver to those people that want the knife. They don't live up to the demand because of the limited quantities. That is the main issue with sprint runs. Why they keep being done, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's easy money. I guess that's the one way to look at it, is obviously who's ever doing it, whether it be Spyderco or Kaiser or anybody else, they're making, it's guaranteed money in the bank because they sell out so quick. It's a shame, but that happens. And then, for some stupid reason, people decide that a $200 knife is worth $400, or a $100 knife is worth $175, or you add like this crazy amount of money on top of what the brand new knife already costed, which at the end of the day, the manufacturer, if it's made in America, they still don't have that much into it. And if it's made in China, they got literally almost nothing into it. And you're paying exorbitant amounts for something that's just not worth it. And you're kind of wasting your money, and maybe you're happy for a second, but then at the end of the day, you move on from that knife to another one. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And that should just never happen. Knives should never double in value of the retail, because they're retail set for a reason. That retail price is already multiplied God knows how many times for someone to make their money back. So if you want to pay 2 or 3 times, go for it, but you're wasting your money. They also tend to bring out the worst in people in the knife community. And that in its own right is just terrible, because there's so many awesome people in this hobby, in this community. I feel like a lot of people look out for one another pretty good. I think everyone's pretty good to each other. Everyone's fun, friendly, respectful, for the most part. That's not always the case. There's scumbags in every hobby and every community. That's never going to change. But, I thoroughly enjoy everyone, or 99.5% of the people I interact with on my channel and on Instagram. So that's important to be said, but at the end of the day, it still brings out some bad tendencies in people, whether they, a sprint run goes and someone tries to hoard them and buy the max amount allowed, whether it's 2 or 3. At the end of the day, you should just be allowed 1 per household all the time. Should never be more than 1, and it usually is 1, but then you always have people trying to just buy 1, and they just want 1, and they don't even want it. What they want to do is resell it, so they go to resell it on eBay or some crap like that, and it's just toxic, and it all comes from for some reason, the stupid demand for a knife that is probably cool, but at the end of the day, there's other options. There's other options. What can you do instead of sprint runs? Here's when we get into these knives right here. A few options. First of all, go for other production knives that you haven't owned yet. And I got a lot of good production knives here. A lot of these are very available. The Adam's a little harder to find. You can find Shamans. They're not the cheapest, but you can find them. The production version. The PM2s are always available. Smocks are usually available. The ZT0640 is usually available, I believe. I don't think that's been discontinued yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. I may be, but I don't think I am. I think you can still get this at a lot of places. The ZT0393. Great knife. Excellent knife. It's available. The Adam, hopefully someday more will be available. But instead of trying to waste all your energy and most likely be let down by trying to hunt a sprint run, find a production model that's easy to get that you haven't handled yet that you really want or that you think you would like. Give that a shot. And then another option, instead of a sprint run, when you get that production model, do some fun things like this to it. Get some custom scales for it. Get a Lynch deep carry clip for it or some other type of, custom clip. Put a little more money into it because at the end of the day, if you're getting a sprint run, you're going to be spending a little more money anyway. Or if you go to buy them on the secondary, you're going to spend a stupid, crazy extra amount of money. So, put a little more into it. Enjoy what you own. Make it yours. Make it unique. That, at the end of the day, will make something a lot more enjoyable than any sprint run you could ever have. And I can guarantee you that. Customize your knives. Here's some good, those are good examples too. And actually, at the end of the day, these are kind of the same. When I say customize, I mean like send it off to some awesome people like knife modders or or transparent knives, someone who does a lot of, knife mods. They're great people. They're doing good work. And you can make a knife that may look really boring to you look stinking awesome. For example, I could send this shaman in and get the blade reprofiled to something else. Or I could get it, acid washed or get some laser engravings. I could do all sorts of things, and I'm not going to do that to this because this is perfect, and I'll talk about this here in just a second. But you have so many options when you find a good modder to really make a knife your own. And that, at the end of the day, is going to make you happier than a sprint run. And it's going to be more yours. It goes from being limited to not limited when you got it, but, instead of being a limited sprint run, it's potentially a one of a kind, which is even cooler. And then that's all yours, which is really sweet. So definitely something to consider here. And, you can always get, limited runs. These are both limited runs, Wrong words here. These are both exclusive runs. This was an exclusive run from Knife Joy. This was the exclusive run from DLT, like I said. And this one especially, this was available on Knife Joy for a decent amount of time. It was like $175 for 20 CV on a smock. It was an excellent, excellent value. And it didn't sell out overnight. It was available for a couple weeks, maybe even more than that, I believe. But it was a great knife. I got it. I got some scales on it, made it my own, put the deep carry clip on it. It's always fun. If you really want to get a knife unique, you can Frankenstein them. Now, this is kind of where I'm not contradicting myself because I'm going to make this statement here. This was the only sprint run knife I've ever had. This Spyderco Shaman right here. This was the crew wear blade, and it came with these micarta scales. And it was the Crucarda. It was, and at the end of the day, when this knife was available, it was one of the most highly desired sprint runs ever, from my recollection. A lot of people wanted this. I happen to know of a retailer that was really small at the time, or small enough to where not everyone would be the first ones to, they'd flock to. I managed to snag one from them. And so I was really happy. But you know what? I got this sprint run, my nice little sprint run Crucarda Shaman that I loved, and I didn't carry that much because I was worried about, this is a collectible. It's a collectible, so I'm going to just let it sit in my Pelican box. That's, again, shame on me, because what I did over the weekend was I took my other Shaman, which was just the stock S30V blade, and I had some sharp dress knives, scales. I decided I liked the micarta. I love that contoured micarta, but I wanted a stonewash blade with a little better stainless properties. Now, at the end of the day, I don't really care that much about the quality of a steel when you're talking, the difference between Crewwear and S30V. They're both great steels. The only difference is this does have a little better corrosion resistance, but I wanted the stonewash blade. I loved how the stonewash blade looked with the micarta scales and that Lynch deep carry clip. At the end of the day, this was the Shaman I wanted. So I took that so valuable, highly desired Crucarda Shaman apart, and I made this. And at the end of the day, this makes me so much happier than my sprint run Crucarda Shaman has ever made me. And now I carry this too. I'm carrying it this week. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is when you make a knife your own, when you're able to really get creative with something and put together exactly what you want, I guarantee you will enjoy it more than any other sprint run you could ever get your hands on. So ultimately, that is my point here. You have so many more options to get a cool limited knife. You got to pay a little more money to do it sometimes, yeah, but again, you're going to get more enjoyment out of it. And at the end of the day, the enjoyment you get from your EDC, that's what ultimately matters. At the end of the day, that's really all that matters, is being happy. So focus on that next time you want a certain knife. If it's hard to get, you know, look another route. There's always another option. There's always a plan B. Always. Now, there is one type of limited run that is okay that I want to specify in this video, because it's very important that we support new manufacturers and new designers in the community. And that is the exception. And I know some people complain about that sometimes, because sometimes people do make smaller runs of their knives. That's not because they want to, it's because they're either new to the industry or they're just a smaller company and, you know, they're having their work outsourced or another manufacturer make them for them. So they just can't afford to make bigger quantities. You got to be patient with those people, because there are some amazing minds out there right now designing knives, coming up with new features and locks and all sorts of different things. But, you know, they're just people. They're not millionaires. They're not rich. They're not Spyderco. Spyderco can make as many knives as they wanted to, you know, within reason, of course, but they have the resources available and the funds available. Smaller guys that are coming up, like, wow, all of a sudden I can't think of them. But any of the guys that, Price Designs and the maker of the Dawn. Why can't I think of these guys? But they're doing runs through, you know, through Riot, through other resources to get their products made, and they can only make so many knives, or they can only afford so much on a run. So be patient with those people. Support their designs if you enjoy them. Give them your business, and then be patient, because if they know they can sell more, they're going to make more. It's not that they don't want to, it's the fact that resources are limited. So that's important to specify, to be patient with those people that are trying to build a brand, trying to bring their designs to the industry. Sometimes money's tight. Sometimes there's other reasons why they're making smaller runs than just the fact that they don't want to make more. I don't think that's ever the case with those guys. So keep that in mind. And next time you want to get a sprint run, maybe look another route. Maybe look towards a production model you've wanted for a long time, or pick up a cheaper production model and customize it and try your luck with acid washing, or, you know, something fun with a knife, writ dyeing. You know, or buy a couple in Frankenstein. That's actually really fun. Then you can sell the other one, and you can usually get close to your money back from the other one, if not the same, depending on how much someone wants it. There's always options. There's always options. And most of those options, as a matter of fact, all those options are better than sprint runs. So I'm done. That's that. I hope I didn't sound like too much of an idiot. Let me know what you guys think about sprint runs. I have a feeling like they're kind of dying down a little. I think due to the third-party markets making more scales and more clips and more options to put on regular stock knives, I feel like the desire for sprint runs are going down. In exclusives, the exclusive models and quantities, I think the actual limited sprint runs are kind of dying off. I think that's a great thing. I hope that trend continues. But yeah, there we go. Let me know what you guys think about sprint runs, guys. Do you like them? Do you buy a lot of them? Do you try hunting them? Or do you just not waste your time with it like I'm doing from now on? This Crew Carta that I had here was the first and only sprint run I will ever buy. I'm officially done with them. This little deal right here really made me realize that they're just not worth my time and energy to try and acquire them. So that's that, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to hearing your comments and thoughts on this in the comments below. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.